is Peter Vincent, bringing you Fright Night Theater.
1985's Fright Night on VHS. Today we're going to be taking a look at this 1986 copy of Fright Night from Columbia on VHS. Welcome back to the Ectoviolence channel. My name is Alec. Today we're talking Fright Night on VHS. This is one of the beautiful Columbia RCA copies that actually is not a bottom loader. This is one that slides out like so. I'm sure many of you are familiar with these. On the side here, unfortunately, I need to reattach the Columbia Fright Night sticker, but this copy has been through some shit. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw this thing in the VCR. So we throw the tape in, and we see that this tape specifically has a few issues at the beginning, probably because it was a rental tape. This copy is beat to shit. A classic FBI warning, and one of my favorite things. The previews of other RCA Columbia Pictures movies on VHS follow the movie, but there's a little bumper at the beginning to remind you. And this movie has a great opening. You know, it's slow and spooky in all the right places. And if I may say, it is one of the horniest movies of all time. So while she's undressing, he gets distracted seeing a coffin being unloaded next door. And that sort of sets off the events of the movie. You know, it's a little bit of Rear Window, where he's watching and observing these things. And, you know, he's later and he's like spying on him because he thinks he's a vampire and everything, right? Also reminds me of the movie Disturbia, even though that came after this one. Evil Ed is a great character. Underrated as far as horror movies go. And I'll say it took me way too long to see this movie. You know, I saw this movie for the first time in my early 20s. Maybe I was 20. I had never seen it before. I had definitely heard of it, but it was just one that always evaded me, you know. And at this point, it's one of my top 10 favorite horror movies of all time, for sure. And the vibes are immaculate in this movie. Like him chilling in his room with chips, you know, the red lights, the horror movies going on. Like this is it right here. This is what we're all longing for. And the music, let's talk about the music. This is definitely like, basically for YouTube's sake, I'll say corn music, but it's horror corn music, you know what I'm saying? It really is. And it's awesome though. I love it for that. But it definitely makes this movie hornier than it already is. I like the scene with him spying from the bushes and getting caught. He gets the cop with him to go there. That scene's great. He's humiliated. Then he goes and visits Evil Ed because he's sure that this guy now knows that he thinks he's a vampire and shit.
Start with this. Then get some garlic. Then, of course, there's holy water.
And this scene's great. So he arrives home after that, and Jerry's at home just hanging out in his living room with his mom. Essentially there to make it known, hey, I can fuck with you. Scares the shit out of Charlie. And then he visits him in his room at night. And this scene is amazing. I mean, this whole movie is amazing. I could go on about it. I was about to say, this is one of the best scenes in the movie, but I'm really like, I don't know. They all are. All the small details. Like how he goes in there and waits in his closet for him. You kind of like, you see that kind of stuff in movies, like where a villain comes out of a closet or something. But I like how we get to see the setup. He like actually distracts him and stuff so he can get into his closet and emerge all creepy like. Vampires are theatrical bitches. Let's just admire his outfit here too, because he is serving, like always. But the makeup effects and everything in here, and how scary and deranged it is, it rules, you know. It's different than Lost Boys. And, you know, they came out, 2 years apart? But these are two of my favorite movies of all time, teenage vampire movies. Who'd have thought? And then he gets stabbed in the hand with a pencil. Obviously awesome. It's like a mini steak, right? It's wood. And this is later reused, I think, in From Dusk Till Dawn. Then he goes and destroys his car, calls him up on the phone, tells him that he destroyed his car, and that he's going to come kill him tomorrow night. Like, the script for this movie, I don't think could be any more perfect. And then we're introduced to Peter Vincent. Again, one of my favorite characters in fiction. Peter Vincent's great. He's hilarious. He's a coward, but he is a horror host, you know? Like, that's how all of us would be. We'd be cowards in these situations. Real vampires, we'd be like, I don't know how to deal with this. I like them in movies. He's just hilarious and awesome and relatable. Love that guy. And it's fucked up that I'm relating to Roddy McDowall now and not Charlie anymore, you know what I mean? I'm old. He turns him down, thinks he's crazy, obviously. Evil Ed and Amy visit Charlie while he is totally on a goth streak. Like, I'm honestly surprised Susie and the Banshees isn't playing in this scene. But he's trying to kill some vampires, right? He's getting ready to. He's like, he knows what's coming. But Amy and Evil Ed decide they need to recontact Peter Vincent and try to help him out of the situation because they think he's going to really try and kill this guy and that he's not a vampire. So they have this test set up at 6 p.m. tomorrow. We show up at his house and, we'll make him drink some holy water, all right? So they show up there. And I love how he's like,
I've seen all of your films, and I've found them very amusing.
And after the holy water test, Charlie is completely unconvinced. But basically, Jerry threatens him in front of everybody and is like, well, get the hell out of here or I'm going to end up killing all your friends. And then Peter Vincent sees that there's no reflection in the mirror. Brilliant scene, brilliantly done. His reaction and the way the rest of this scene and movie plays out because of this, honestly, it's perfect. I love it. They leave there, and then we have the infamous club scene, which is right after Evil Ed is basically outed as being gay, essentially. I mean, it's not super direct, but like, this is infamous as being kind of including that. At this point, it's pretty regular, which I do appreciate. There were gay characters in Halloween Kills. There were gay characters in Scream 5, Scream 6, the new Hellraiser, Evil Dead. Just want to say I'm here for that. Speaking of Evil Ed, though, he takes a cross to the face, and my god, this scene rules. It's so iconic, just visually. There's one song in particular from this movie that I do have on my Halloween playlist. That's the Good Man in a Bad Place song that plays while Jerry's basically seducing and, putting her in a trance, Amy. And my favorite scene in the movie, and by the way, I'm going to say that 100 more times, is when he decides to vamp out at the club there. It gives me Louis Tully vibes from Ghostbusters. It gives me Teen Wolf, Michael J. Fox vibes. I just love it. It's magical. So Charlie and Peter get together, and basically they're like, all right, we got to figure this thing out. Like, what are we going to do? And then we get some of the most incredible film deaths of all time. Vampire movies just have excellent film deaths in general. I can think of Lost Boys, Buffy, but Evil Ed's death is insane. It's absolutely wild. It's bonkers. The Carpenter, his death, again, absolutely insane. And the effects of the bat, like all the practical effects in this movie, let's be honest, but specifically that bat there, it's amazing. And one of the most iconic images from the movie is Amy when she's in her vampire form, looking absolutely insane and terrifying. And if I'm not mistaken, is sort of what that front cover vampire face is based off of. And I really appreciate how the movie ends with, Evil Ed's potentially still being alive, like as a little,
Oh, you're so cool, Brewster!
I haven't seen Fright Night 2 yet. I do have it on VHS, but it's not a regular copy. It's like a ripped copy or something because it doesn't have any commercials. So I can't tell if someone hit record on an HBO copy or literally just made a copy of the Fright Night 2 tape, which is what I'm thinking it is. And the trailers after the movie. I didn't forget. Did you forget? Well, here's the thing. There are two movies I've never heard of. Agnes of God, which, I'm going to be honest, did not catch my attention. I don't even remember anything about it. However, Screen Test, that looked mildly interesting. I might look into that movie. And that was it, just two trailers. Now let's talk about the positives of Fright Night. All right, the cast and characters, get out of here. Perfect. William Ragsdale, Chris Sarandon, Amanda Bierce, Roddy McDowall, and Stephen Jeffries. In particular, Chris Sarandon is really awesome as Jerry Dandridge. William Ragsdale is great as Charlie, and I wish he was in more things. And Roddy McDowall, he's been in lots of stuff, awesome stuff, but this is my favorite role of his. And he was in some Planet of the Apes movies that are absolutely great too. And this is directed by Tom Holland, who also directed Child's Play. He's done a lot more than just that. These are the two that I can think of off the top of my head, but if I look at it, I'm like, oh yeah, shit, he did that too. The visuals, and when I say that, I don't mean the effects, because I'll get to those. But like the actual shots, the cinematography, the design, I wouldn't have it any other way. This made in 1985, perfect, dude. And let me jump back real quick to the characters. Peter Vincent, I talked about Roddy McDowall, but Peter Vincent as a character, as a TV host, putting a TV host who used to be in vampire movies, thrust into a situation where he's fighting real vampires is just brilliant. And he's not even the main character, so it's just kind of like this thing that's an added element, and it's beautiful. Now let's talk about the effects. The practical effects, freaking awesome. Love everything about it. The way these vampires look, the way the mutant creatures, God, the 80s, man. This creepy body horror 80s stuff, I eat it up more than anything else. And the music and the score. So we have the score itself, which is awesome. We talked a little bit about it earlier. Like as I was describing before, it's very sexy, it's very horny music, but it's also very synthy and dark and brooding. Could you ask for anything better for a vampire movie? That's the whole point of Vampire. And to be honest, a lot of vampire movies have good soundtracks and scores, so... but as far as the songs that are in this movie go, I mentioned, Good Man in a Bad Place. There's also the Fright Night theme song. I don't know if that's what it's called, I guess, but... And there's a couple other good songs that play at the club and some other locations. It's pretty good stuff, though. Not all of it's easily available to stream or anything like that. You could probably find it all on YouTube, though. And as far as negatives go... I got nothing. And before I rate Fright Night, why don't you jump in the comments down below, let me know what you think of this movie. When did you see it for the first time? I think I will give Fright Night a 5 out of 5 hearts, because I love Fright Night. I could watch it again right now. And if you like this video, be sure to check out this one and hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.